Welcome to Soloing Out of Chord Shapes, addressing the 2-5-1 change. This lesson is going to take a look at how to resolve 2-5-1s into our three areas of activity, the F, the A, and the C shape. This lesson is going to look at 3 licks in each shape, and the licks are going to be based off common motifs, and they're going to be kind of altered and moved around as we go through these different shapes, but with the consistent motif still there and still recognizable throughout all of it. This is a great way to kind of have a stock vocabulary, a stockpile of licks, so that when you play, your sound is identified. First, you're going to start off in this F shape, then we'll move up to the C shape, then we'll move up to the A shape. So here we're going to be in the key of G. Our 2 chord is our A7, and our 5 chord is our D7. So here's our first lick. This is a 2, 1 bar of 2, 1 bar of 5, 1. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. A little slower. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so here's what I'm thinking. As I play this, I gotta see where my other chord shapes are. This is my 1. My closest 5 is this shape right here, my C shape. Now, I mentioned in some of the earlier soloing out of chord shape lessons that I kind of threw away parts of the cage system, the G shape and the D shape. The reason why I did that was I see these shapes as extensions of our 3 main F, A, and C shapes. So whenever I see this G shape, I'm already seeing that it's going to resolve right into this C shape. For me, that's much more usable. So with that in mind, when we're playing out of this, we're going to start here and play a pull-off. F sharp, G, F sharp, E, F sharp, E, D, C sharp. While we're not starting on an A7 chord tone, we are quickly going to a chord tone. We're going to the flat 7. And we have the E, that's the 5. And then the C sharp, that would be the 3. So we've got, and we're landing on that B, which is the 9. And then we're changing to our D7 or D7 chord, and we've got, so what's happening here is we're hammering on and pulling off D to E, so 1, 9, 1, flat 7, 1, flat 7, 13, that's our B, 5, 3, 1, A, F sharp, G, to the G chord right there. So that's, so the motif in this is that we're starting with this little pull off, hammer on pull off, and then we're bouncing back between 2 notes, kind of a pedal note. There's that. So altogether we've got A7 to D7 to G. 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, now let's go to example 2. Playing off this motif again, but this time we're going to do an extended change. We have 2 bars of A, 2 bars of D, and a bar of G. So I'll play it and then we'll break it down. 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. So to start it off, we're doing exactly what we did in the previous example. This is all over A. Then we're going to come back up to this C sharp, our third and our A chord, and bounce off this D. Kind of a sus sound. And again, that motif's established. Hammer on, pull off, bounce off between a note. Then we're going to walk down, chromatic 2, our A, then back up to our 9. So it's pretty similar to your first bar, except we're adding chromatic notes and we're taking this motif and putting it right here on a different chord tone. So we've got first part, and that's going to get us right into this D right here, where again we're taking the first D part from the previous example, doing that, and then we're coming back up to the chord tone and doing the same thing, kind of as we did with the second part of our A. So it's hammer on, pull off, bounce up, chromatic down, resolve. So altogether, that second part of the D is. So altogether, we've got 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, and now we're going to go on to the third example. And this one takes the two motifs that we've established and then adds a few other little things that are kind of just alterations on those motifs. So here we go. 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so to start it off, again, we're just restating this idea. Then we're restating that idea, but instead of going to the F sharp, we're going to land on this G, which is the flat 7 of A, just to give us an even stronger pull to the 5 chord, the D. So that's. Now we're at the D chord. And instead of going over here, we're going to start right here on the A, hammer on, pull off, F sharp, A, down, chromatic, back up to the F sharp. And then we're going to do this extended motif where we're bouncing between two notes. And I'm going. So what's happening here is we're going A, F sharp, A, F sharp, chord tones right here. Then E, D, E, D, 9, 1, 9, 1. So really digging into this chord shape. And it's something that I think is a simple enough motif, but also interesting enough where the listeners can really attach onto it and kind of comprehend what's happening. So let's try this whole thing together. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, now for example 4, we're going to move up to our C position. So here we have our 1 chord. Our nearest 5 chord is this D shape from the cage system. But instead we're going to primarily be using this 7th version of it, the G, the flat 7. Again, I think of this as an extension off of our A or F shape right here on our A chord. And then our D shape is going to be this, our D chord is going to be this G shape right here. Again, I'm thinking that it's resolving quickly into this. And a lot of them, the D7 and the G chord, they all have the same notes. Yes, different notes highlight the chord tones, but they all just kind of fit nicely in this major scale. So with all that said, let's play this first lick and break it down. Here's a short 2-5-1. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. A little slower. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So first we're starting on our flat 7 of our A, playing it twice, kind of setting our motif there. G, G, F sharp, E, F sharp, E, D, B. And you can see this is all within that shape. And then when we get to the D, we've got E, E, D, C, D, B, A, F sharp, resolved to G. Again, we have that motif of 2 notes and then that bounce. So all together we've got a 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, now let's go to example 5, where we have the extended 2-5-1. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, a little slower. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so what's happening here is we're starting it off pretty much the same, except this last note we're ending on is going to be the E instead of the B. So we've got, and we're going to bounce between our F sharp and our E. Then we're going to bounce between our D and our B. So that first phrase is, and then the second phrase over our D chord is E, E, D, C, D, C, A, B. And then bounce, another bounce. So altogether that phrase is so together we've got a 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, now we're going to go to example 6, and we're kind of bringing back the motif that we had to start off with in our first 3 examples here. So play it through slow. 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is kind of your best of lick. It has all of these motifs that we've used so far. It starts off, got that pull off idea, hammer on pull off, and down chromatically, and back up to E. And now we're going to do the bouncing. So E, F sharp, E, D, B, D, B. So that's, and then we go into the D chord, and we've got that hammer on pull off again, and then our bouncing. So all together that second phrase is, So the whole thing is 1, a 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, our last area is our A shape. So here we have our 1 chord as our A. Then we're going to have our 2 chord, our A chord, as our C shape, and then our 5 chord, which is our D, as our F shape. So here's our first example. Again, this is combining a lot of the motifs that we've already done. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. A little slower. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So here we're starting off on our B note, our 9 of our A chord. We're bouncing off of it. So B, A, G, A, 9, 1, flat 7, 1, and down the scale, skipping over our D note. Again, just really digging into that chord shape. Here comes our 5 chord. We're going to go F sharp, E, D, E. That same idea, melodic motif really. We've got 3, 9, 1, 9. Then we're going D, C, B, D, G. So that's 1, flat 7, 13, 1, then the 1 of the G. So that second part is. So all together, example 7. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, now for the extended 2/5, example 8. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so here we're starting off the same. Instead of going down, we're coming back up the F sharp so we can grab this A right here. And we're going bouncing back and forth. So A, G, A, then E, C sharp, E, C sharp. So this part that's all over the A. Oops. And now we're coming to the D part. We've got so that's verbatim of what we just played above in the previous example for the D. And then we're going to bounce between 9 and 1, and then 13 and 5, and end on the 1 or G. So that's. So all together we've got. Alright, in our last example here, we're going to bring back a few of the earlier motifs with the triplets and hammer on some pull-offs. 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, a 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what we have going on here is we're pulling off, hammer on and pull off A, B, A, and going down like we did the previous two. So down, 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 and then bouncing between. that's A, F sharp, A, F sharp, E, C sharp, E, C sharp. And then we're going to pull off on our D chord, E, F sharp, E, D, C, B, D. And then we're coming up and playing E, C, or 9 flat 7, 9 flat 7, B, A, or 13 5, 13 5, and resolving. So that D part, or the D chord, is so all together we've got 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so this is what I would advise. Learn these licks and take these ideas of making motifs and then put them in these shapes on your guitar and write your own. Create, anywhere from 3 to 6 different ways that you can address these chords, this type of chord change, and use that as your vocabulary to do that. You want, at least for me as a guitarist, I want a sound that's coherent and consistent, and I want a sound that can be recognizably me. It's great to know all sorts of ways of addressing things, but sometimes it's just good to know a few ways and really know those ways, so that whenever you have to play those changes, you have that certain sound and people can start identifying that sound as belonging to you. Because I think that's what we all want. We all kind of want our own unique voices on the instrument and our own ways of addressing changes. And that's how I think we got to do it, is by creating a stockpile of licks and just vocabulary that can be interchangeable and recognizable. So that's what I would do, and I hope you learned something, and I'll see you next time.